everyone, Julie is here. I'm glad to see you on my channel You with the Eyes of Russian. In the theme of today's video, I open my new playlist on the channel about what you need to know in Russia. And today we will talk about what to try in Russia or wild Russian food for foreigners. By the way, I was inspired by the topic of today's issue thanks to my friend who was born in Russia but has lived all his life abroad and don't know so many subtitles of Russian cuisine. There are enough videos on the internet about what to try in Russia, and maybe you already familiar with the common Russian cuisine such as dumplings, пельмени, окрошка soup окрошка, famous soup борщ, salads, салаты, vinaigrette, herring under fur coat, селедка под шубой, оливье, Napoleon sweet cake, торт Наполеон, honey cake, медовый торт, some of which surprised and over delight. If you're not familiar with common Russian cuisine, classic, writing in the comments and we will speak about it more details. Now I'm preparing dishes, analogies of them you will definitely not find on your taste. So let's begin. I will give the first place to mushrooms, namely in Russian, грусть. Yes, of course, you can order them in restaurant in Russia, but believe me, if you have a Russian friend and he has a grandmother, for example, who has mushrooms of his own preparation, then do everything to try it. So that you understand this, personally collected mushrooms, processed and rolled up. The taste is magical with bitterness. With other mushrooms, nothing to do. Eat them with onions and sour cream. More correctly, with smetana. Well, this is something in style like of Greek yogurt, only completely different. In general, people in Russia like to go mushrooms and berries, cloudberries, and familiar to you, for example, and collect them. We continue the theme of pickles, but let's move on to vegetables. Pickled tomatoes and cucumbers, which perfectly complement most of dishes. By the way, Russians are very fond of brine in which vegetables were infused and it's really delicious. Also in this group is квашеная капуста, or in English version, sauerkraut. You understand what I say? From which, by the way, preparing this soup, called щи. You can also try it in restaurants of Russian cuisine, well, or at a Russian friend's house. Everyone knows the Russian love for red caviar, because black is very expensive and for an amateur, but does anyone know anything about squash caviar? They eat most of them spread on classic brown bread, sprinkled with salt and pepper to taste. It's made from zucchini and other vegetables, and you can try it only with a Russian friend. Friendship in the name of food is obtained. We were talking about black bread, and immediately came to mind sandwich of two ingredients, this frozen fat, on Russian sala, and the bread itself. The fat is stored in a frozen form and then cut into bigger and thinner slices. The most delicious is considered to eat less of meat. Most people buy fat not in stores, but some relative brings them from the village. And each village has its own cooking secrets. Most likely you can safely order lard in Russian restaurants. Since the case has gone for flour, I don't know what you have to do to persuade grandmother your friend to make a pie with sorrel, but it's worth it. It's just amazingly delicious greens. The cake will be sweet and it's very difficult to stop eating it. Buy in store or in restaurant I think is impossible. Cherchez la femme, or rather someone who cooking. After you find grandmother, ask her to find her in the cellar machone, soaked apples. This is one of the sweets of the 90s, cheap and tasty. In general, if you're interested in Soviet cuisine, just let me know and we will talk in more detail. Don't confuse in restaurants with baked запеченными apples with is soaked. Still, of course, some salt watermelon, but this is generally a provision, I think. Talk about drinks. You will be surprised. Kvass can be found and bought in stores and in a restaurant, prepared on the basis of fermentation of malt and flour or rye bread. By the way, bread is also made from crackers. It's a kind of snack like your chips, a great choice. Kefir can be found in absolutely any store. This is a sour milk drink. It's usually a drink to improve digestion well because it tastes good. Children like to add sugar to it, and I will say for myself, I like to add pepper and salt to it. We all different tastes. Ayran and kumis are more specific drinks that are difficult to get even in some region in the Russian Federation, but there are no analogies to taste. And here is the information about the Russian birches. In the past, they were very fond of drinking birch juice in Russia, and they really get it from birch. And this is not a very complicated procedure to taste like sweetened water. It's hard to find, but you can find it in stores. A separate place is given to dried fish. In general, in my opinion, you know the love of Russians for fishing and that they don't do anything with fish, and they cook soup, uha is called, and etc. But one of the favorite is to dry it, and it's different types. And every fisherman has his own secrets. This is a whole procedure from brushing to eating. You can buy in a trusted store in Russia, consult with a friend, of course. By the way, with regards to the hearing under the fur coat, you may not like it. For example, I stopped loving it. Tastes have changed. Bird's milk, птичье молоко, and stuffed cabbage, голубцы. What common? What do you think? That has nothing to do with birds, it's just beautiful names. Let's take a look. Bird's milk is surprisingly delicate candy. Souffle is classically presented in three flavors: vanilla, chocolate, and lemon. But I always thought it was a banana. As a child, I ate such sweets at one time, so I chose chocolate, and another time I cleaned chocolate and ate souffle. By the way, the same thing applied to sausages. Picked out pieces of fat from salami. Are they the same? Writing in the comments. Take it as a gift to friends. Inexpensive and you can buy it any store. What about stuffed cabbage? Not from pigeons. This is minced meat, spinning cabbage leaves that have been processed. Very tasty. I touched the cottage cheese bars, sweet bars coated with chocolate inside a curd mixture. I discovered a mixture consisting of cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is a fermented milk product rich in protein. In Russia, there is a very large selection if you notice dairy product. So try Russian sour cream or smetana too. Welcome to any store. Other rare but well aimed in what you can find in restaurants are boiled crayfish and basturma from venison and horse meat. It's delicious if you're not a vegetarian. Therefore, take care of your friends and run to the feast. And on the way back, don't forget to fork out for pine nuts. They're worth it. If someone says that these are mostly snacks and eaten with alcohol, when you are mistaken, because so many people enjoy this food and not drink. You know what I think about it all? I think it's great if you have a Russian friend. Even better than your Russian friend has a grandmother, mother, or relatives, or spouse, girlfriend. And mostly beautiful thing is that someone from women adore cooking. It's me, carte blanche. Well, I said so much, but have got a lot of stuff to talk about. Subscribe to my channel, mark the bell in order not to miss new release, and push the button if you like this video. See you in the next thematic video.